Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Paddock. We're shifting gears this week, literally, and diving into something a little different, but very on brand, and that is a Formula One romance. Now, the book we're going to talk about is called Slipstream by Madge Maril. It's dropping May 20th, so keep an eye out. It's got everything that we love: fast cars, rivalries, and of course, there was some enemies to lovers energy, which I enjoyed. It's all set inside the world of F1, and we would love to thank Madge and Simon and Schuster for the opportunity to read this arc. Now, in this episode, we're breaking down the romance, the characters, how well it kind of ended up nailing the motorsport world, and whether it delivered on the enemies to lovers payoff. So please be prepared for some spoilers, but we'll try our best. Now, let's talk Slipstream.
All right. So Slipstream, pretty much, we meet Layla Graywood, who is a serious documentarian, and her passion is capturing raw, unfiltered truth that is not motorsports. The girl is not into F1, dear in her heart.
Government only.
Governments only. Yeah, she made some like documentary about like I cannot talk.
She was covering politics, that's
Yeah.
for sure. It was very interesting to go from like political to F1. That's such a shift.
It's not even like a 180, it's a 360 that she does.
No, girl, it's still 180. 360 will get her back to politics.
Oh yeah, you know what? I did just wake up from a nap, so ignore me, you guys.
No, okay, but you're right. It went from literally, she had like some juicy politics story, and then her boyfriend, friend, like best friend, coworker, co-owner of the business, his name's Max, ends up like being like, hey, so actually, I know we just did this amazing political movie. I want to go film Ignition Energy Drink Racing Team. My boy.
So
Like,
weird.
what?
Not even like a small milestone. It was like a full leap into another like side of the universe.
It was basically like Drive to Survive,
Mm-hmm.
but didn't like him. Like from the jump, I was like, this guy's really weird. And then he ends
We
up
hated him.
blindsiding her anyway, ends the relationship in a nasty way, and was like, and also, this is my company.
That had me seeing red, to be real frank, y'all. I was so pissed.
Also, he cheats on her to add to the cuffs of it all. Like, not even.
And it's with someone on the ignition energy drink team, like someone like behind, like
Literally
their
the marketing
PR,
girl.
like behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I forgot her name. I think it was like Nicole or something.
Sarah. It's
Sarah.
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 And then they
Like
end up
Sarah.
becoming besties later, so it makes my life.
Well, Sarah didn't know.
No.
That's,
did not.
That the craziest thing to me is the way that like it wasn't fully shown, but like it was alluded to how much Max completely downplayed his relationship with Layla, however people want to say her first name. I just like we are all girls here on this podcast, and I know I'm not the only person who was like ready to absolutely throw some friggin' hands at Max because like how dare you downplay your relationship? Like it's just shady. But also like maybe this book should be a PSA for people to like not let your significant other do business with you.
It's-
And
Short-lived,
or
though.
make sure that you file your paperwork yourself.
Yes, be there when the paperwork is being done and written with the lawyers, because that was some nasty work he did.
Oh,
Yeah,
He
Very.
planned that from the
Shit.
beginning.
wrong. So wrong.
Yes.
And so
so
disrespectful.
But-
shady.
I couldn't with them. Those are like so that's who opens up the story.
Literally the first chapter.
Literally.
It's just chaos from the jump.
And
First 50
then
pages.
okay, so then once we meet like Arthur Bianco, reserve driver, love him. I kind of got confused a little bit in his introduction, just because it's like very obvious his like his career is a mess, and he obviously wants to win, ha ha ha, every F1 driver. But Lila gets assigned to him once we like meet the team, because Lila decides to go. By the way, like this, she's not gonna let this man take the business from her. She's like, you know what, you want to do this, fine, we'll try it. And she like upends her life to do this. She like moves states away from people she knows, doesn't like know anyone. I think all her money was like invested in this too.
Yep.
The girl was
She
stacked.
moved from like she's
Kentucky.
originally from DC, which I actually love being a DMV girly, and she moves to Texas because of Max.
Well, she grew up in
So
Kentucky,
she's
and
like,
then she moved to DC after college and then for work, and then that's when she like met Max and like started like this whole gig and everything, and that's where she like did her first job, and then later on ends up in Texas, which then he screwed her on 100%.
but yeah, we meet Arthur, and pretty much he just is not happy to see her or be around her presence. It's like so like F this, I'm over this, like don't want to be here. And then essentially like Lila tells him like what happened with Max, and he's like, "Oh no, like we're getting
Well, he
revenge.
tried
Like
to fire
I
her,
got you."
like remove her from her business.
Yes. Oh my god. Yes.
Like
And he was just like, "No, we don't do
after
that."
he confirmed that like they're no longer together, he was like, "Oh, I'm removing you, like unfortunately you don't own any of the business, here's your termination paperwork." He said some stuff to
Yeah, he
Ignition,
was doing the sneaky shit.
and then Arthur did not have it.
He tried to claim her footage.
Oh, and he was gonna also lie to the whole team and be like, she decided to
Yes.
drop it.
Exactly.
The real thing that like irked me was the fact that like he was basically saying like, well, all of the footage that you've shot that she had already done
Is
is
mine.
his.
Is mine.
Like is the businesses, even though
Because
it like
How are you gonna try and take her last name?
that
Yeah. And
heavy on that.
And the other thing was when he broke up with Lila, he was just like, Sarah, the other girl, didn't know that we were in a
and
relationship.
it's not needed.
And he was like, don't tell
it's
her.
not needed to tell her.
Boy, please.
Like what?
Although I was surprised that she kept it a secret because, like, I don't know if
would've
I
popped
would have
off.
kept it a
I
secret.
would have not.
I would have been like, hey, by the way, your man was
And
my
then
man.
she saw her
First.
like
I
Until
would have
yesterday.
immediately
No, like until yesterday.
Yeah, no. I would have immediately told her. I think anybody would have immediately been like, oh, abso-friggin-lutely
Exactly.
not. I mean, I also think we have to keep in mind the fact that, like, at least based off of how Layla is kind of initially presented to us, she's very shy. She doesn't have a lot of, like,
Velma-esque.
close people. Like, the...
Kind of a pushover.
Well, and also just like there's the whole like idea of how to stand up for herself in a relationship seems like it's something that she doesn't fully grasp.
Well, I don't know if it was that she couldn't grasp it. I think it was that she was so scared that this was her best friend and her relationship that she was like, if I mess up this one, I'm gonna mess up everything, and I'm gonna be super alone.
and she just molded to everything that he
Wanted.
wanted and liked. Like she wasn't her own person.
Right. And I think we started seeing that with Arthur, though, like her becoming her person.
Yeah, I have to give a lot of mad props to Arthur to that, like in the beginning scenes, because I want to say it was either like I think it was a coffee shop, or maybe it was like a bar, like during the day, and they end up
It was
just
a
so
bar.
happened to be there at the same time, and it was almost like he gave her that spark, like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you fighting for this shit? And then the next day, she just like took his advice and showed up to Ignition and said Max was wrong, like y'all are incorrect, he must have gotten something like mixed up in the paperwork, like I'm here. And then Arthur told Max off. I was so proud.
I was also very proud.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and who doesn't love a man who's gonna
Yes,
stand
I
up for you?
remember that.
Because
Even if they like just have met you and aren't your biggest fan.
I thought it was interesting, too, because, like, I would love it, but at the same time, I'd be like, wait, no te mete.
Literally. Yet he's sitting there.
Yeah, because at that
Yeah,
point, they
you're
hate
hating
each other.
but you're still
They
standing up
hated
for
each
her at
other.
the same time because he was like ready to throw hands.
But I guess, like, in his defense, like, in Arthur's defense, his story is going along, like, at the same time as her story is going on, which is, like, the whole weird uncle thing, which I'm not gonna lie, it took me 2 reads to kind of understand it, and I feel like that was a common trend when I was looking at reviews after I finished the book. A lot of people had a little trouble following that storyline. But basically, the uncle has him, like, under his thumb. Can't really like progress his career or anything.
Wrapped around the finger.
Yes. And he's decided that like Arthur is gonna be stuck as a reserve driver for like the rest of his career, basically, if he stays under him. And he has him like in that crazy ass contract. So probably Max, when he saw that happen, he was like, "Well, I'm already getting fucked. You don't need to get like screwed over too." So maybe that's why he felt like he had to defend her so much. Because like that's how I saw it.
Or maybe they took this as like a revenge plot to like, excuse my French, fuck over Ignition.
That's essentially what it was,
Yeah.
because like he was just like, make me look good, screw them, because he wanted to join the way I looked at it, I forgot what the team's name was, but it was like the book's version of like Ferrari, which is like the top like dream team that he wanted.
Oh, like Chevelle, or what was the other team?
I don't remember the name, but yeah, it was basically like the Italian version of what would be Ferrari.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he very much so was. It seems like it was a mutually agreed upon decision of it will piss Max off for Layla. Layla gets a little bit of like kind of protection and like gets to film what she wants to film, and he gets to screw over his uncle because part of his contract is like basically the equivalent of like a morality
Right.
clause.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an attempt at trying to get him out of his contract, which is why he starts bringing in, or why she kind of strong arms him into bringing in other people into like the know of what the hell's actually going on with their quote unquote relationship in the beginning, at least.
Which I mean, basically is like the main.
Leon.
Oh yeah,
Leon.
that's good.
Leon.
But I mean, that's basically like the main plot of the story. Like now they get into this. This all happens like the first 5 chapters, by the way. They end up
It's
doing
crazy.
this revenge relationship for like the rest of the book, and at some points I was like, "Is this really necessary?" But at other points I was like, "Okay, no, this is it's fun." But also at some points I'm like, "Is this really necessary?" Because I feel like she kind of did not get the best end of the stick, like
No, she didn't.
at all.
I would agree with you on that.
And I was like, "Why are you doing this to yourself, girly pop?" And it's because, love story. So she ends up doing it for him.
I will say this was definitely the most fast-paced F1 romance I've read in a while. Like, so much just like in the first like 5 to 7 chapters. It was just like it was the equivalent of starting an F1 race. Like, you were just like off from chapter 1, y'all. I mean, if you're somebody who does not like slow burns, this is
not one.
perfect. This is, well, if you don't like a slow burn, this is actually kind of perfect, because I wouldn't call this that slow of a burn. Like, in terms of pace.
Yeah, I will say though, like after like chapter 8 or in like a little farther over, it did slow down as far as like the amount of the way that the story was progressing with all the changes. It started going into a little deeper of how everything played out and how everything worked. Like we got a crash course of F1. You got to see like different drives. You got to see like Arthur and Lila's like
Blossom.
fake relationship form into a lot of ways, while also seeing like the team slowly just unravel.
I will say something I really liked about the story, even with the kind of like fast progression, because Amy's not wrong, it went pretty quick. Was it was kind of nice seeing their like mental health things and how they would bounce off one another, because I feel like a lot of times you read these stories, and at least to me, they really like
Traumatized.
dramatize. Thank you. Okay, they really dramatize like the reactions that someone with ADHD would have or whatever. And like I have ADHD. And sometimes I read these books and I'm like cringing and I'm like, I know I do not act like this. And reading this book, not that bad. There was maybe like one or twice where I was like, but other than that, I was like, no, this is pretty. It's actually relatable a little bit. And I was like, oh, it was kind of nice. And I really liked how Arthur's story progresses with his mental health.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me, what I really liked is that it was, in terms of like key themes, like there was the mental health aspect of it, but there's also the lens of the fact of Lila is neurodivergent, and so that plays a really big part in like just her whole entire character development, And as somebody who is neurodivergent, I will say I've tried a lot to read books where there's neurodivergent characters, and it always feels really off, really fake, really just kind of inauthentic. And I feel like the character of Lila probably has, for me, the most accurate representation, or what felt like the most accurate representation to me as somebody who is neurodivergent of a character with neurodivergency, if that makes sense.
It does. I will say it was also really nice to see them both like kind of cope and learn how to navigate dealing with like these mental health issues, and then also supporting each other along the way. And like you saw like the panic attack play out, and like Lila being there for him and giving him like techniques of what to do, and like to figure things out and remind him like choose himself in a lot of aspects, versus thinking about everybody else. And then with her, you see him kind of realize that that's what she needs, and like helping her just like get what she needs in order to feel whole in a lot of ways. And so it was really good to see those two sides, because you don't really see that in the F1 world, nor do you really see that a lot of times in books.
Honestly, I was a big fan. Like, initially, when we first got the opportunity to do this, I was obviously excited that we were doing it anyways, but I was kind of worried that it would be like fan fiction-y. Just because any that's always a concern you're gonna have when you get these kind of romantic books, even the cowboy books. Sometimes you're like, oh, it's kind of corny, but initial reaction, big fan. I like that even though it was obviously an F1 romance, I feel like there was still um, a lot of like built-in storyline around the romance, between them trying to do the revenge thing, and them and her doing like the filming and the planning and talking about like her life story with her mom, which I actually really liked the kind of side story that was going on with her mom. So yeah, once we got the book, like even the cover kind of had me hooked. I really loved the design, so I was a really big fan of this one. I think I'd give it like a solid rating if someone told me that they wanted to read like a little F1 romance.
Yeah, for me, I was initially not sure how I would feel about the book. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I've tried to read a couple F1 romances in the past, and for some reason, nothing can kind of grab me to the point that I actually want to read it. But when I opened it and I first read like the first 50 chapters, I'm pretty sure I told Chelsea, I was like, I actually like this book. What the heck? Um, and didn't think that I would like it as much as I did, to the point where I had trouble putting it down. Um, so I would agree in a lot of ways that if you asked me what would be a great first step into Formula One, book type of storylines with F1, I would definitely recommend Slipstream. Um, Even to probably some of my non F1 fans, because it also talks about what F1 is and gives like a Formula 101 aspect. So I feel like that would be like a great hook for people who don't necessarily like Formula 1 as a good first step, but you do love to read. So I would rate it probably a amazing read. 10 out of 10.
I also, like Hannah, have found myself trying to do F1 romances and normally internally cringing. Sometimes they're just really uncomfortable. Sometimes it's just a little too obvious that they're based off of specific drivers or specific teams, and it just can make you a little uncomfy if you're not like prepared for that. I would recommend the book to F1 fans. I would recommend it to people who just like sports romances as a whole, whether you like a hockey romance, baseball, football, whatever. Like if you like sporty romances, like definitely think you'd like this. It gives enough of like a background on F1 where like if you know nothing, you'll be fine. If you know a lot, you'll still love it. It's a really good read. It's not a really long read, which I think is really, really nice. Overall, even with some of my complaints that I have, which are very few, I'd still probably give the book, like, on a scale of 5, I'd give it like a 3.5 out of a 5. If I have to go out of 10, I'd probably say like a 7.5. Like, I really liked it, but there's certain things that like I would just tweak personally, but that's really just me.
I'm just a reader that goes based off vibes, and I ate this shit up, and it was a 5-star read. I'm that type of person, but I'm also like it was like a nice break from like the usual like romantasy like fantasy books that like I get into because like the other girls, I've tried reading F1 romance books, and I actually have read a few, but it got really repetitive after a while, and it just seemed very just like I don't want to say lazy work, but it was just kind of like lazy work to me. And this was just like kind of refreshing where it was just like they gave us drama from both ends. Like both main characters had like their issues going on, like their stuff going through it. And then actually like a really big fan of like that he falls first storyline too with love. And I remember texting the girls and being like, I'm literally like kicking and like giggling right now, like reading this. And I ate it up. Like I really liked it, and I will definitely be rereading it soon because I don't know, it was just so much fun. So yeah, again, 5 out of 5. But I am just a mood reader, so take that as you will.
I do feel like I need to reread it, but I have to agree with Mel's comment of like a lot of F1 books, it feels repetitive. I feel like this for an F1 romance was like a fresh take. Mm-hmm. Like it felt like a story I hadn't heard before, which was I think what I liked about it the most.
Honestly, I think I kind of agree with you that I really like that I did not like automatically connect the main characters to real people, because it does make me feel a little funny when I'm reading it and I'm like, oh, this is Lando.
It's uncomfy as hell sometimes. Like, if you're not ready for it.
Yeah, or like one book that I tried to read, I immediately was like, oh, this is about Charles. No.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't. And like I tried one with like Lewis Hamilton. I was just like, I cannot disassociate the two from each other. And I spent the whole book trying to figure out, is this McLaren you're talking about? Because it's orange race suits, but then it also seemed like it was another team. And then I couldn't associate the driver with anybody, and I was like, oh, this is wonderful. Perfect.
I think it was a mix between Red Bull, McLaren.
It almost gave Haas vibes because of Texas.
Okay, I can see a little Haas. Yeah. It was giving like if Red Bull was based in Texas to me.
Just because it's like the American team.
Yeah, that's what it was, because Haas I don't really count as an American team.
I think we all can agree that Haas is the least American team on the grid for an American team on the grid.
We're all clearly ready for a GM.
Give me Cadillac. So. Good Williams. God almighty.
Or Cadillac.
I don't know, I think it was really good. The only complaint I had was the uncle storyline. Because I looked into it, it just seemed really underdeveloped, like kind of like weirdly put in so that he would have a storyline, I guess. And
it felt like an afterthought a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, like how they closed the plot. Because to be fake dating to get purposely fired by his uncle seems like it was something that was always going to backfire, in my honest opinion. But I guess it didn't really matter in the end. I did,
felt like
but
they wanted it to
I don't think it was going to backfire the way they did. Like the way that it ended, which was her getting screwed over, was how I knew it was going to go. And the main character seemed to think it was going to be happy-go-lucky after. And I was like, no, girl, like you're not going to have a career after that unless you marry this man, which...
Yeah.
Book 2, anybody?
But it ended up working out in her favor because of like the Formula One media people and everything. So surprisingly, but she got there because of him, like buying the rights and everything. But I also think what stood out was just like the fact that at this meeting in the very end where they're going, and it's like his impending doom, like he's getting fired type of deal after Monza. His dad just ran
so like they hadn't mentioned the man at all in the book, and then all of a sudden like this paternal character just like exists out of nowhere.
And like mom,
they just had to close it, and like they had to close the story. They're like, oh wait, by the way.
And it was like a whole like guilt trip thing of like.
I felt like the uncle and him just needed a little bit more backstory at the beginning instead of trying to rush giving all the synopsis at the end. I won't lie. But what threw me for a loop kid you not, was the fact that the whole reason he is in this position is because his uncle screwed him over so long ago in Monza. I was just like, my mind is blown. Like, F this man. So disrespectful. Please leave now.
Like, why was he not fired?
What I feel like doesn't make or didn't make sense to me when I was initially reading it and makes me super excited for a reread is I feel like I wish that they had given us more background on the uncle earlier, like Hanna had said, of just like the fact that he was a racer and was racing against his nephew. Because I feel like when they finally dropped that tidbit of information at like the tail end of the book, I was like, I'm sorry, repeat that for me one more time? He what? Like, because I can't tell, like they also, I feel like they never gave us an age for the uncle. So I'm like, am I picturing a 60-year-old man? Am I picturing a 40-year-old man? Like what, how old is this man? So that I actually, like if we knew he was in his 40s or something, I feel like it would have made sense for him to have raced against his nephew. I was picturing like a man like the age of Lawrence Stroll, who like sure as hell was no way going to have been able to race his nephew.
I was picturing 40s.
Like in any way.
I don't think they ever gave an age. I think
No.
they just gave like a description, which is why I associated him to being somewhere in his 40s.
I low-key picture Christian Horner.
Oh, same. Actually, just with long hair. I don't know why.
Yeah. But then they kind of threw that tidbit out there that they
Yeah.
raced at the same time with each other for a little bit. So you had to know he was young enough to be able to slow race. And then so did Arthur have to be old enough to race with him. And so you're like, okay. So they gave you like clues but didn't necessarily like tell you.
I think that
exact
whole
age.
like it happened in that meeting where like you find out that like Arthur had like that big accident that was like he could have like lost his life, and then his uncle was like the one involved in it. I think that would have been nicer to know like earlier on in the book, so we know why Arthur is like seeking revenge, or like at least like a tidbit of it, because it was just like I just need revenge and I need to be back on Leon, like but it's like
Is this a dumb question? But like, is it the uncle that crashed into him?
I just remember him causing the accident. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. His uncle and him were racing against each other, and his uncle said that Arthur was going too slow, so he hit his back wheel, which caused him to then go into the barrier, which then he flipped multiple times. He was with Leon at the time, his previous racing team, and then come to find out his like halo was defaulted or defected, and like he had multiple issues with like the car itself, and so he almost died because of that accident. And his uncle had like no remorse. Now
Which is
actually,
scary.
his uncle, as a way to like make him feel better, he paid for like his physical therapy for years to get better, and like kept him on the team as a reserve driver because he felt like he needed to mold him and like make him better. But then also what he was doing was strong holding him and telling him, you're basically shit, like you don't deserve a seat at the table.
It's giving sociopath. Is that right?
Yes.
So I will say, like, if we were to break down the characters, Uncle, crazy. Gave me weird vibes from like the beginning. But I really did end up liking Lila and Arthur. I didn't think I would like Lila that much at the beginning, just for like a second. But I like how her character ended up developing like with Arthur.
Like, I kind of liked the redemption arc that we got for Sarah, the girl that Max technically cheated on Lila with. Like, I loved the redemption arc for Sarah. I loved Delaney as like a bestie character. But I have to say, of like the side characters, I still think my favorite's Cameron. I don't know what it is about him. I
love
texted
him too.
Mel while I was reading and went, Cameron, I was like, I think I said something about like I'm giggling, like I was absolutely wheezing. I think Cameron might be my favorite random side character. He kind of gave me like Riddick from Fourth Wing energy a little bit.
Yeah.
I could see that.
I think what I thought was hilarious about Cameron was when they went to the karaoke bar in Belgium the first time before everything got released, like uh, Lila, Cameron, and Arthur were at the bar, and then like Lila and Arthur were doing their like little flirty tit for tat, and Cameron goes,
I think
"Yeah,
that's one of the
okay,
moments I
bye."
wheezed.
I was just like, "Same."
Yeah. No, I like Sarah, especially when like she found out about the whole ordeal with like Max. Like she was just like, "Yeah, no, I'm out." And then she even was just like, "We could have been
I love
friends."
the fact that
Like
Layla was
even
like,
from the
well, we
start.
still can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they
Like,
became
let's be
besties, and I loved it. And I
friends.
loved Delaney because Delaney's like
Yeah,
one of those type of people. Like she's those friends that like
she was my favorite.
Shame.
she tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear.
Right.
And she understood, like she got it, like she saw it in Lila's face. I want to say after spa, she was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, your feelings are real." And she went out there and was
exactly.
like, "I'm
Yes,
gonna hang out with you, girl. Like you're not gonna be alone." And I
a
respected
hundred
the
percent.
hell out of her for that, because I'm like, you're a
She was
girl's
a
girl,
girl's
like
girl.
through and through. Like despite the fact that you work for Arthur and with Arthur, like you've developed a friendship there. Like you care.
No, but I really do like her. Delaney's character was like very I don't know, I feel like sometimes you read like these side characters are like friends with the male character and it's almost like they're supposed to be the secret crush or something or trying to be fighting for the guy. And Delaney was very much, how can I help
Yeah,
you guys?
she was like on the same page and everything.
It was so nice to read her character. When I did the review for the art thingy, I literally put like Delaney is my favorite side character.
I could have done like a whole book. Like I felt like her and Sarah need like a redemption. Like Sarah finds her one true love, Delaney finds like her true love, or like the bestie for the rusty type of vibes. It would have been perfect.
I definitely feel like we need a book 2 because I feel like there's so much more to these characters' stories that like we still need. The one thing I have to give Madge massive credit for is the fact that like I don't think I've ever had an author write a character that I have disliked immediately like Max.
I rolled my eyes every single
I
time.
don't I don't think I have ever despised a character so quickly the way I despise the character of Max Black. Oh
He
my
reminds me of my
god.
ex. Sorry, not sorry.
You're not the
Nope,
only one who
same.
thought the same, Han. You're not the only one.
He just seemed like such a
So
Yes.
narcissist.
heavy.
He was just
And
so
like
sneaky.
the way that he was so like,
So
I
ick.
own this, like your last name, mine. Like,
Biggest.
what the fudge was that? It was so gross how he went about it. And then also the thing like, yeah, don't tell her. Like she doesn't need to know. Like I'm texting her right now as we
Literally.
are talking.
It's like men
This
think
is
that
what I
women
would have
don't
done.
talk to each other sometimes, or they forget that, like, we will likely talk to each other, and, like, secrets don't stay secret for long.
Exactly. Exactly. I just don't like the guy. That's all.
Yeah, no.
Hate him. Hate, hate, hate. But I do like how supportive like her mom was. Like she was definitely like that mom where she was just like when like that whole
Yeah.
breakup happened, she was just like, "Oh honey, like
Oh, like her adopted mom?
yes. Yes. Oh my god, I forgot she's adopted. Yeah, so her adopted mom was just like, "Oh honey, like, I'm so sorry like I never liked them for you, blah blah blah." And like kind of just like being that like nice supportive mom, but then like her actual like biological mom like no, I don't that like whole like when she started like blowing up like in the tabloids and everything, that was I did not expect that to happen, and did not like that at all.
Gross.
I could have sworn that for the longest time, her real mom was actually like no longer with us, like had passed
Well,
away.
the way she spoke about
And
her.
then to find out later on, I was
Yeah.
like, what? Exactly. And then
Right.
to find out later on, like she was alive, that she had kids, she was married. I was like, what the freak? I'm pretty sure I threw my book.
And Layla had every right to feel the way she did when her mom continued on with her life, not including Layla. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty common for sometimes like adopted kids to just act like their biological parents are non-existent or like passed away, whatever. And that was actually like really like nice to see how like Layla handled that part and everything, and her supportive mother. But yeah, screw her biological mother.
Her, I'm just gonna say her mom, but like her mom kind of reminded me, and it's probably dumb, but of like Bella's mom from Twilight, when they would like
Yes.
constantly be calling each other for updates. It gave me that same exact vibe where they're like best friends and they just like to give each other like little update calls.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really nice kind of having that reprieve. I don't know if that's like the right pronunciation. But from like the drama that was in the story sometimes, and then her mom would just come and be like, "Hey, honey bunny, hey, sunshine." I was like, "Yes, thank you."
I feel like her mom's character, this is just very specific, but her mom's character reminds me of my mom.
I was gonna
And
say,
I
like,
think
their
that's
relationship is very
like,
relatable. Yeah.
it's very relatable. It's
Yeah.
very much so, like, especially because I'm pretty sure it seems like Layla's an only child, and I am an only child. So it's like there's that really special relationship that happens for like an only daughter and her mom, I feel like. And it's just really nice to see it represented so authentically. I do feel like all of the characters, for the most part, save the uncle, were like very true, authentic representations of like a real person, which was just really nice. It didn't feel like they were completely made up.
Yeah.
Like there was real like thought put into majority of the characters within this story.
Right.
I will also say that I really enjoyed that they actually showed like a little bit of how it feels to be in the foster system and the journey that you go through, and then sometimes it doesn't necessarily always work out. And so they didn't really touch on it a lot as like a deep dive, but they did hint on it, and I was like, sometimes you don't necessarily think about that unless you're put in those situations. And I was like, holy shit, like this is real life.
So I am somebody that like when I read, I cannot highlight a physical book. I cannot do it. We were lucky enough that we got both the physical copy and the e-copy. So I went through my e-version and just kind of like pulled some sporadic quotes that like made me stop and either giggle, blush, kick my feet, wheeze, take your pick, made me react in some way, shape, or form. My personal favorite starts with page 100. From Lila's perspective, and it says, when he angles his arms just right, a tiny sliver of bare skin is exposed between his glove and race suit. I think this has to be what Victorian era men felt like when they saw a wanton ankle. When I tell y'all I was wheezing, I was unwell.
Now, was this the part where she was like putting on the gloves on him for like the first time when they like okay, yeah, I remember
Yep.
like they had like finally like agreed, or like she was gonna think about the decision if she was gonna like quote unquote fake date him or not, and then like she had made the decision. She was just like, pass me your gloves, and I was just like, oh my god, she's gonna do it. But
I actually really like how you can definitely tell it was him that started to like her first.
Oh yeah.
Because I guess like they made her character very charismatic, so like a lot of people would kind of like flirt with her. And he was always there just watching with his little comments.
The little comments.
Yeah, I loved at the British Grand Prix where like he said a comment over the radio that kind of stuck with me. He was like to Cameron, and all he says is she watching?
yes,
And I just
gasped.
remember going, oh my god. And then later on in the book, she asked him about it. And then he goes, oh, I was talking about Meryl, like Merlin. And I was like, no.
That was
And
so
then later
she was
frustrating.
still
reveals
over
it
here
was
thinking
actually
he
her,
was
and I was
dating
just like,
someone else.
yes.
Because this
I
motherfucker
know.
decided to like not be upfront and go, oh no, I was talking about Daryl. Or not Daryl, Delaney. And Merlin. Oh, you're right. It was Merlin.
Merlin.
It's just like, why? If you had just been upfront and been like, yeah, no, I meant you, babe. Like, this could have kicked off so much friggin' sooner.
Well, because it was fake.
But that.
It was fake.
I just feel like he was so upfront about
Yeah, it
so
was
many
about
other
you.
things, and this one little thing, he couldn't just be like, you.
Well, I think he was just waiting the whole time for her to buy into it and like see it and like understand it and feel the same way. That he was like throwing hints out that she didn't necessarily could click with or like understand, and she was like, is that true? Is it not true? Like, what's
Men.
going on?
Is it someone else that he's talking about?
Yeah.
Right.
And she's like, he does these things that like make me believe that there's something, but then you don't necessarily know, and you're like, what the heck? She's like, I need it black and white, and he's like, well, I've let these breadcrumbs like here for like races and like weeks
They were
and
huge
months, and
breadcrumbs.
you're the one who's not picking up on it, and
And
then
I
it
feel like they were
explodes.
obvious breadcrumbs.
It literally,
Yeah, it was like a whole loaf sometimes.
like the rooftop scene.
Yeah. Although,
The rooftop moment.
okay, no, but I can also see from like her point of view,
Hmm.
her point of view being like, this is way too romantic for me to be the first girl up here.
I can see that.
Totally. Like, it's like, it was too smooth that, like,
Right.
you can't, like, I wouldn't have even believed that it was the first time you've done this. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But, like, the way I envisioned that in my brain, the whole time I was reading that Budapest rooftop scene, I was, like, blushing like an absolute idiot. I must have been so red. Because the way it was in my head was just, like, so swoon worthy.
I think another like line or scene that I really liked, and actually Amy, you wrote this, so credit to you, I'm just stealing it, love you, was like page 97, and he was like, I cannot walk into a room and see you smiling at him. I can't fucking do it, Greywood. Followed by, if you don't want me flirting with journalists, you can't flirt with Max. Like, boy, this was a breadcrumb of all breadcrumbs, and it was like at the very beginning of this book. Like, this man was like, I'm laying expectations and telling you, catch on, come on.
I mean, who doesn't love a man who yearns?
Hmm.
And I feel like
Bridgerton
Arthur
vibes.
Bianco is a man who yearns. And I love it.
He was yearning, but like also, wasn't she not like really believing it was real because
Well,
He
they said
agreed
it's
to
fake.
it be
Yeah.
fake.
Yeah.
But also she like didn't was like okay. She didn't want to like him. Like she
She
didn't.
thought he was
So
a
like the
playboy.
whole time that all of this is happening, she's like also constantly fighting herself. She's like, no, I'm just imagining that. Like,
I mean, it do be like that sometimes.
I think she thought he
Yeah,
was a douchebag.
exactly. For a minute.
I can't blame her.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do feel like of all of the like quote things that I wrote down, there's a theme that I noticed with Mr. Arthur Bianco over here, and that is this man and his goddamn pet names.
Oh, I love them.
I love a man with a pet name and a book boyfriend. It's fantastic every time. But like he starts off with just like the classic of princess, which like is a pretty surefire hit for a large audience. But he gave me some new ones that I'm not sure what my personal favorite is. First is Little Devil, and I'm like, I don't know if I love it or if I hate it. Because like I've got questions. But he hits you with what I think is my personal favorite line of put your headphones on and sit where I can find you later, Michetta, which means little kitten in Italian, and then ends the line with you're about to watch the best race of your life. I'm sorry. Repeat that for me one more time, sir.
Hot.
I will say those little pet names always make me laugh, and not in like, oh my god, that's so cute way, but more like, oh my god, this is kind of embarrassing. Just because it makes me feel funny sometimes. Just read it. And then what I did appreciate was that I could not link Arthur to any driver.
No, exactly.
Because I would have felt so funny if it was like reading it and I'm like, oh, this is Charles. That would have been, no, weird. But it was an imaginary boy. And I did like his character a lot. He was very, like, they made his character very charismatic. I was like, yes,
Exactly, yeah.
any woman would fall for this.
So much charisma.
It surprised me how much like he cared. I was not expecting that from him. I was like, who is this man? Like, you don't expect that from a man.
I was expecting him to be a dick.
Yeah.
And he really and truly was not. I was expecting him to be like such a jerk, and he really proved me wrong.
I was fully expecting him at the beginning of the book was that he was going to be the douchebag and she was going to come in and like soften him and like show him the right way and how it's supposed to be of life, like humble him. And then literally it's the opposite way around in a lot of ways, and I'm like, what is this? Like, you don't see that very often.
I feel like the one final quote that like stuck out for me, or like little moment, because I at least just kind of swooned at this because I just think it's really sweet. And Arthur says, if you were my girlfriend, Greywood, I would stake my claim on you publicly. You'd look good in my number 9.
The scream I scrumped.
Mel gets me.
The scream I scrumped when I read that. I literally was just like, oh my god. I like it that was like one of the first clues where I was just like, he's definitely into her, and she's not taking the hints.
I was like, make it official now.
And he's gonna fall hard.
Like, let's go. Like, this needs to happen now.
I was just like, say that with your chest. Good God.
Literally, I was just like,
my jaw dropped. I
put it on a billboard.
I was not ready.
No, and I actually like that they like did that, like the whole like him, because you don't see that with the actual like F1 wags in real life. They're always just like, I love their fashion, but it'd be cool for them to like, wear like the team hat or the driver hat, something to show like they're supporting their man. But that's just me, because
I feel like they get so much shit for when they do that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, the internet's gonna internet too.
No, but I'm like, think of like the NHL and like NFL
Football,
wags.
yeah.
Like, I'm like, all of
Soccer
the other
ones
sports.
too, yeah.
Like, at least there's a jacket.
But wait, am I crazy to think that Lewis's ex, didn't she do that, Nicole?
She did. Nicole Scherzinger was like,
she would do that all the time. And honestly, before our current generation, they were doing it. Like Michael Schumacher's wife was doing it.
Yeah.
And like,
bring it back.
Bring it back.
I see it all the time with like
it's
the
such a
like
mood.
football, soccer, like the Premier League wags, and they do it so cute where it's like they personalize like their jerseys, or they wear like their own form of it, or there's like some NFL wag where it's like she's taking like old jersey.
Kristen Juszczyk.
Yes, and she's taken it and she's like personalized it and like made it her own thing, and I think she even got like a brand deal or something like that to like continue like selling it. I'm like, yes, do it, like support your man, but I also like little cutesy stuff like that.
There's like this controversy out there where it's almost like banned to do it, or you're not allowed, and I'm like, no, I feel like it's
Should be
better
encouraged.
if you do it. Like, yeah, you're with this man, show off.
I feel like the IndyCar wags do it, but not the F1 wags.
they do.
Because there's...
Well, dude, the F1 wags cannot even post a photo of their man without getting trashed half
But
the
we
time.
also know how the F1 fans would react
The
to.
other day, Alex posted a
Literally.
photo of Charles. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, it was cute. It looked like she was being a little fan. And then people started
Oh,
making
yeah,
fun of
it's
her,
Suzuka.
saying, "Why would you like post this? You look like a fan." Blah blah. I'm like, "That's my man."
No, it was Jeddah. Yeah, it was
No,
Jeddah.
yeah, there was one where it's like they had like side note, there was like rumors of like issues in their relationship, and they like each posted like a drop from Jeddah and everything. Like they did some exploring, and and what I like about them is like they're each other's biggest fans, you know what I mean? So like, and they posted each other like a picture and like all this stuff, and everyone's like, oh, you guys are quick to cover up these rumors. It's like, let these people post it, and it's literally like damned if they do and damned if they don't,
Yeah.
and it's really
And it's
annoying.
not like full blown pictures. It's very like subtle pictures that they post.
It's very tasteful. And I think the comment, like where she posted like some
Right.
pictures of herself in this beautiful green dress, he was like, photo credits to like at Charles Leclerc, and she was like, LOL, thanks. And I was just like, I love that type of banter in the comments. I was just like, it's super relatable, but it's like, again, it's like some of these fans are just like, they do it and they show off their relationship and show that they care for each other and everything, and everyone's like, ugh, whatever. And then, but if they don't, it's like, what's going on? Like, what did they break up? It's like showing signs of like X, Y, and Z, and it's like,
Yeah.
one, it's not your relationship. Two, who cares at the end of the day? I just like seeing it, so, but that's me. I'm a lover girl, so.
I would just say, I mean, comparing it to F1, like what's real and what's fake, she definitely got it right in the book that if you were dating an F1 driver, you would be fucked.
And that driving always comes first. Like the sport does come first.
Yeah. And I mean, honestly, I did appreciate that.
They also showed like her getting like immediately like pushed into the limelight of like, and how she had to like adjust to that and things like that towards the end of the book. And I was like, he showed the reality of probably what it's like and how hard it is to transfer from just literally being in love with the guy to now
Such
being
an adjustment.
everybody eyes on you with a little steam.
And I feel like they also did there's a really good representation of just like F1 as a sport. Like, it's not super in depth, but it's at least an accurate representation of.
It was nice to like have like the races, because I remember like when she goes to the first race, like she goes to like the grandstands and like she's filming, and like there's that one like older guy like that comes up to her and he's like, "Oh, are you cheering on for like Arthur and everything?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm like recording for him, blah blah blah." Like, are you like, I think she says like something along the lines of like, "Are you a fan?" or "Are you like something like," and he was like, "Oh no, like I'm a really big fan." Like it turns out he's wearing like his number and everything, and he's explaining everything to her as well, along with Cameron explaining like how the weekend it was just nice to have like that
Yeah.
the explanation there for like non F1 fans to like also get what's going on, but it's not too much where it's like overkill.
And it was described
makes
very
sense.
well. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you like romance, I really say this gave you a mix of like young romance, cute, but also like that steamy kind of vibe where you, because they had like that one scene where you're just like, yes. So I definitely feel like it's very tasteful.
Yeah, I think it's good. Like, even if you're not a huge like spicy reader fan, it's not crazy spicy with the
It's enough.
spice scenes, but it's just enough. So like, if you're someone who's really apprehensive, who like hears us say spice and goes, "Oh my god, I don't want to read that," trust us, it's like very like mild,
Minimal.
very very minimal. It's nothing crazy. It should not make most people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. I'm also really glad that this opportunity happened, because as girls who, you know, as you heard us at the beginning say that sometimes we don't necessarily pick up a F1 romance book just due to the fact that a lot of times it's related to a driver per se. I am really glad that we did get the opportunity to read this book, because I feel like I can speak for all of us. We were very pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. I agree.
And to close out the episode, we have a fun little moment of the weekend, moment of the day for you. And I just really wanted to do like this is our first book review and collab with an author, and just really excited for this opportunity. Thank you, Madge. We are forever grateful for that, and we can't wait for hopefully many more in the future.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap on Slipstream. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in the paddock today and for joining us on our very first episode of the PGP Book Club. There will be more coming, so please keep an eye out. We had so much fun diving into the fast-paced world of F1 romance, and we are just getting started. We already have our next book club pick, y'all, and it is Not So Fast by Karen Booth. It comes out in late May, so keep an eye out. If you want even more Slipstream content, we will have a full blog post up that will be hitting the website this week, packed full of info and maybe even a few bonus hot takes if we're feeling spicy. Don't forget to follow us on socials. You can find us at Paddock Girls Podcast on Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. Make sure to drop us a review wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe so you never miss an episode. If you have any F1 themed or motorsport adjacent books you think we should be adding to our TBR, slide into our DMs or leave us a comment. We would love to hear from you. Until next time, we will see you back here in the paddock when we head to Miami. Bye.
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 Bye.